Good morning. My name is Kevin Bates, and I'm the Director of Product Development at EasyPower. And I'm here today to talk with you all about the release of EasyPower 9.6, which came out. Many of you should have received email about this yesterday. We also showed this a preview of this version of EasyPower at EasyPower World, so attendees of that conference got a chance to see it a little bit before it came out. So anyway, here we are today. I'm going to walk through the highlights of a few of the features of the 9.6 release. And today, I guess I'll walk through each of these, the equipment duty scenario comparison report, the arc flash scenario comparison report enhancements that we did, and some of the SKM import functionality. And I'll do my best to take some questions at the end, and we'll go from there. So like I said, I'm going to start out with the equipment duty scenario comparison report. This is a new report that we built into EasyPower 9.6. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with the equipment duty functionality that's available in the short circuit module in EasyPower. So I'm going to take a brief look at that real quick here, and as I go in and go to my short circuit options, no, I want text output, and I'm going to go ahead and create the equipment duty report when I do my analysis. And then I'm going to go ahead and fault my buses, and when I take a look here, let's see, got some extra windows open. I'm going to pull up in this report. You can see the equipment duty report that we have that's been in EasyPower for quite some time. Now this report is a handy report. However, there hasn't been any capability to compare between different scenarios very easily. You'd have to do that analysis on your own in kind of in a manual fashion. And many of you are aware and have used our arc flash scenario comparison report that we enhanced in the 9.5 release that came out last year. And so we decided to take that model that we used for the arc flash scenario comparison report and expand on it and use it for the equipment duty scenario comparison report. Now, like all the scenario comparison reports, to launch them, you basically go to the Scenario Manager button on the toolbar in EasyPower, and you, I'm going to go ahead and I don't know how many of you are familiar with EasyPower scenario capabilities, but basically allows you to look at, for those that you aren't, it allows you to look at different options of how different options in your model and do different analysis under different configurations. So in this case, we have basically, you can see based off of the names of these scenarios that some of them have like a tiebreaker open or closed, they're designed to look at different forms or different conditions on the system. So we have basically 6 scenarios here, and so when I go to the Scenario Manager, the last option down here is to create the scenario comparison report. Now, the arc flash scenario comparison report is one that has been around for a while, enhanced last release. Now there's the new equipment duty option here. The equipment duty scenario comparison report, when you launch it, you have to decide how you want to run that report. This window here we simplified over what was available when you launched the arc flash hazard scenario comparison report to try and get it down to make it a little bit easier to get into the report. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just select the default options here, and I'm going to hit Create Report. Now, when the report comes up, here I'm doing, I can see easily, very similar to the other equipment duty report that I can see equipment that's in violation or warning. In this case as well, the report's kind of expanded over the report that you get in the short circuit module, because we now have each of the scenarios listed here for each piece of equipment, right? In this case, I chose all scenarios, so all the scenarios are there. And it clearly identifies which one is the worst case. The worst case being determined based off of the duty percentage here. So scenario with the highest percentage is going to be marked as the worst case. So here I've got this scenario marked as worst case, and you can see over here, there's my percentage. Now, if there's interrupting values as well as half-cycle values, then it's still going to choose the worst overall percentage to determine the worst case. So now a couple of options I want to look at with this report are the filters that we have here in the toolbar. So in this case, I'm looking at all scenarios. If I want to filter that down to only the worst case, so I'm looking at all of the devices at this point in time and the worst case scenario only. So this is showing me effectively a mix of scenarios, and for that mix of scenarios, these are all the ones that are specifically the worst case for each device. Then I can also expand on that filter and get down to only where the worst case is overdutied. And so this can help you easily identify, maybe where you have things that you need to work on, or problem areas that you need to focus on in your system. So that's a brief look at the worst case scenario. So with the equipment duty scenario comparison report, we've also introduced the ability to do a best case comparison. Now, go ahead and just launch this using all the default options, and you see you get the same look and feel. In this case, rather than having a column that indicates the worst case scenario, we have a column that indicates the best case scenario. And again, this is determined based off of the duty percentage. So in this case, this one is the lowest, and so it's the best case. Again, the same filtering options are on the toolbar. And so I'm going to go ahead and choose the best scenario. So in the best scenario only, these are all the different things. You can see potentially how you can use this report to analyze your different scenarios fairly easily. And then we can also get down to similarly only overdutied devices for the best scenario. So in this case, these would potentially be real problem areas that you need to look at sooner than later, depending on what your scenario is modeling. So another thing to look at while we're in here at this, sometimes in a large system, this report could get have a lot of data in it, and maybe you're looking to find the needle in the haystack. We've got a convenient little find feature over here that you can just start typing into. And you can see the blue text there highlights the cells that have a match for what I've typed so far. And as I continue to type, you can see that it changes what's selected and automatically selects the first item that is there. So in this case, I've typed in MV, and it's highlighting this MV bus. So if you were looking for something specific, you can get there pretty easily. Here we've got, and run this report again. I want to take a look at the, at the options that we have up front when we launch the report. So we took a look at the different views that we have here. Similar to the Arc Flash scenario comparison report, we also have the ability to filter the equipment that you're looking at down to a specific group. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this little, this list here is empty by default. In this case, there's a few options that have been set up. So In this case, there's an equipment group named ATS, and there's a single piece of equipment in there that's named ATS. There's one named bus, and there's 4 different pieces of equipment. So just in this case, these groups are by equipment type, obviously. And you can basically add and remove equipment to that very, very easily there. And then as you save your changes, you can then do analysis easily do analysis on subsets of equipment through this feature. So I'm going to go ahead and save my changes there. I'm going to look at the scenario group option is very similar to the option that we just looked at here. In this case, we've got the base case group, which only includes the base case. And then we've got different options here. The same thing applies to where if you wanted to, you can basically include any of the scenarios together into a group and use that for looking at specific scenarios in case you don't care about all your scenarios at once. So I'm going to go ahead and choose CodeGen only, and I'm going to go with the all or selected option here. And as I open this up, you'll see now I get less data. I'm getting only the equipment that was in my equipment filter, but I chose everything in this case, and then I'm only getting the scenarios that are in my scenario filter. And so that way you can quickly get back to doing kind of more targeted analysis on your system using those options. There's one other feature that I should point out with regard to the filter capabilities there. And that is if I'm going to go ahead and just select some items here on the one line. And as I go back in and relaunch my report again, I'm going to, this first option here that says equipment group all or selected, because I've got some items selected on the one line, it's only going to include that specific equipment. So if you don't want to create a specific equipment group, you can just select the equipment on the one line and then come into here and then create the report. And we'll see that we get a much smaller set of equipment. So in this case, I have the 2 MCCs, a panel, and the switchgear. Let's take a brief look at the print capabilities. So when you first go into the scenario comparison report, it's really designed to be a worksheet that you can do some analysis with. You can slice and dice. When you get the information that you want to see on the screen, you can go ahead and go to the printer with it. And basically, you can see here we get a print preview capability. Now, one of the options here that we have is some font scaling capabilities so that we can try and target a single page with that better than we might be able to try otherwise. If you want to aim for a specific font, if it's too small, you can increase the size, and if I go to the next page, you can see the data carries over to the next page. We included, if it carries over to multiple pages, we include the equipment information so that you understand which equipment you're looking at on the next page as well. So these columns are repeats from the first page. Go back and take a look. So I've got my bus name and equipment name there. They carry over here, but it's the remaining columns. Only the remaining columns show that. We also support exporting to Microsoft Excel. And when you export to Excel, you get a very similar look as to what you have looking on your screen. So if you want pretty much identical and you want to manipulate things slightly, change the format beyond what we've got, you can go to Excel with that. Or you can also go to CSV, and CSV just gets the raw data. And I'm going to go ahead and overwrite this file here. And I'll pull that up here. And you can see here I've got pretty much all the data for each. One of the differences maybe between the CSV format and the Excel format is that The bus name is repeated for every single row. So all the data is repeated. Any of the data that might have been omitted for formatting purposes, in going to Excel, you get all of that coming out here. So we have both of those capabilities here. That's an overview of the scenario comparison report. So next I want to take a brief look at some of these enhancements that we also brought to the ArcFlash scenario comparison report based off of the feedback that we received from you all after the release of 9.5. So as I launch the ArcFlash hazard report, scenario comparison report here, you'll notice that we have a simplified, the same simplified interface that we have for the equipment duty scenario comparison report. We've carried it over here, so that way you have a consistent experience no matter which report you're trying to launch. There is one difference here that I would point out, is that instead of just having a best or worst case view, one of the features that we expanded here was to add basically more columns, more information to the scenario comparison report. We'd only included a subset of all the columns in the prior release, but in this release, we went ahead and expanded to include the same rows as the scenario comparison report. Now, this report configuration, you can get only what you want, just like you can basically customize the report down to exactly what you want, just like you can with the equipment filters and the scenario filters. This all works the same, so you should have a consistent experience. When I go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and choose the all columns view here. Everything else basically here works the same as what we've already looked at. And so here now you can see I've got a much larger set of columns coming through than we had in the prior release. I included all the columns. Now, one of the features that we heard from you all that we needed to improve on was the when you go to print this report, there were problems if you went to multiple pages, to where you lost some information there. So we've gone ahead and included, just like I showed with the equipment duty report, we've gone ahead and included the row header at the front, so you know which equipment you're looking at as you switch from page to page. All right, so those are the basic enhancements to the equipment duty, ArcFlash scenario comparison report that I wanted to go over today. And so next, I'm going to take a brief look at some new functionality that we've brought about. We have a lot of you who've requested the ability to import data from projects that you may have in SKM. And so I'm going to go ahead and start up that process here. You'll see on the import menu, I'll go ahead and launch this again here. If I go to the import menu, I now have a new option that is labeled SKM, import SKM data. And now we don't import data directly from your native SKM files. You have to be able to export data using SKM's reporting system to get it out. But when you do get it out, you can get to this. Now we have some help on how to get to that. Let me pull that up for you so you can see. So that if you potentially want to take that on, we have a couple of help topics in the help system. One is how to export the data out of SKM, and then there's some more instructions about the import as well. And here's basically an overview of the process and whatever else. So you can take a look at the help system. It'll guide you through the process. So then I'm going to go ahead and select a CSV file. Maybe we should take a quick look at this. What these files look like. These are just text files that come out of SKM, and they're comma delimited text files. So we basically are able to interpret these files and bring them in to EasyPower. So anything that can get data into that format, we can bring in. And so as I go ahead and select this file, and I choose Open here, I'm going to go ahead and hit the Import button. And this is going to go out, and it's actually going to interpret the file, do some validation, a fair amount of validation, try to map information from the SKM library of equipment, so the way protective devices are modeled in SKM, into to get those settings brought into EasyPower. We have to do some mapping work there because they're not modeled the same. And so we get, in the end, we get a brief summary of the import process. Depending on what you're doing, this should be helpful to you in bringing your data in and in understanding what you got. So in this case, it tells you a little bit about what we processed and things that some of the things that we created or did along the way. Now, when I close this window, you'll notice I get a new report that shows me some things that might be interesting for me to look into. It tells me if there's missing data for certain types of equipment. So in this case, I've got a panel schedule. I'm going to go ahead and edit it. And this panel, for whatever reason, in the data that came from SKM, did not have any sort of voltage on it. So if I do that, and let's see, oops, looks like I need my short circuit rating. And go from there. So basically you can work your way through the items. You can clear them after you're done with them. I'm going to go ahead and look at one more here. So in this case, it says, we got a message that says it cannot find the breaker in the MCCV library for Cutler Hammer AB Dion LA400. Well, this is an example of one of the differences between the way equipment is modeled in SKM. So you can see here that we are trying to validate the data that comes, basically as to how it matches to EasyPower's library. And you'll see here, it's just an LA-400 in EasyPower's library, whereas it's LA space 400 in SKM, in the SKM data that came in. So we can easily correct that. Now, as we go ahead and look over here, we need to complete the information on the trip tab. Now, one of the things is, in this context, I don't know what it was, but in the case where there's an import error or warning here that's still present, there's going to be a little imported data tab over here for you to take a look at. And this imported data tab is the raw data that came out of that CSV file that came out of SKM. And so if I scroll down here a little ways, you can see there's a lot of data in that file. A lot of it doesn't necessarily matter to us, but we went ahead and included it all for your reference, just in case there might be something that you need or something that helps you identify. So we can see here we've got a trip setting of 300, and then we have an instantaneous setting of 1500. So let's go ahead and configure those. Oops, let's go over here. So if I go to find 300, now you can see EasyPower's library models things slightly differently, again, from the way the SKM data is, but there's my 300 and my 1500. So I can work my way through the issues that are present there. So I'm going to hit OK. Again, I can clear my message. I'm going to go ahead and clear this report for now. I'm going to close it, and we'll come back to that in just a sec. But what you can see here in the background is you kind of get there's no layout information in that CSV file. So we have kind of a rough attempt at a starter one line that you'll get out of the information in there. So we do all the connectivity, we try to bring in all the settings. But so you should be able to get to where you have something to work with at the end of the import process. And we'll continue to work on improving this capability for you guys in the foreseeable future. So after I went ahead and closed those import results, one of the questions, that list might be quite long, and you may need to do your work in batches. If you need to go back to that list, you can come back over here to the import tab, and if there's an import log in the file, you can hit the view import log, and you'll notice that the list is here. You'll also notice that the items that are already cleared are now no longer showing here in this list. So you can kind of get back to it and continue to work through your list of items in time. So that is an overview of the SKM import. I'm going to go ahead and look through the questions list and see if I can answer some of the questions that have come in. One of the questions that came in is, will there be import data from eTap? And we are starting to look at that. We have not yet started work on that, but we do have hopes to take a look at bringing data in from eTap as well. A second question was raised about, and I'm not sure the question here exactly. It says, I mentioned import and export to SKM. In this case, that we don't export to SKM, we only import from SKM. The export part of that process is the export part of that process is going to be coming out of SKM, and the import is going to be going into EasyPower. So I have another question, and I think we've answered one of the questions. I guess there's a few more here. One of the questions was also about what happens if they don't have the same devices in both libraries, which is definitely a potential. So if there's information in the SKM file that it doesn't exist in the EasyPower library, then you can contact our technical support team, who can work with you to either locate the appropriate device if you can't find it, which is sometimes a problem, and if it's not in there, then we can work to get it modeled if we can find the appropriate TCCs. So let's see, other questions here. There's a question, I think it's about whether or not IEC is supported in the equipment duty scenario comparison reports or equipment duty reports, and the answer there is yes. I'm going to go ahead and dig that up here, go back over to my equipment duty analysis. This is an ANSI case, but I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my analysis to IEC, and I'm going to go ahead and from there, now I'll go back to the short circuit module and just show, effectively in this case, because I have ANSI devices, I'm not going to get, let's see, short circuit, and we'll go to short circuit options and text output. We're going to create the equipment duty report. And I'm going to just say include all devices, and then we'll fault. And what we're going to look at here is, we'll see here we get the report. In this case, because I have ANSI equipment and I ran IEC analysis, we get this error. Now the same thing will happen if I do the scenario comparison report for equipment duty. And I'll just accept these same options. It'll go in and do the analysis. However, again, in this case, I just have ANSI equipment in the file. So that's there. And okay, so we had a separate question, maybe slightly unrelated to the stuff we've looked at, about XP being supported with this version of EasyPower. And the answer is yes. I will add that Microsoft has ended its support for Windows XP, and that happened in April of this year. And that means it has a few implications for us because they're also ending support in all of the tools that we use to build EasyPower with for XP. And so our runway for being able to support XP is growing short, and we will probably sometime next year have no choice but to stop supporting new XP on new releases. Let's see if I can answer any of these other questions. So there was a question that came in about whether or not on the SKM import, if it will create an EasyPower one line. And basically, if it wasn't clear through my demo here, that's exactly what it was doing, is it created I'll call it a starter one line that you can go through and kind of lay out the way you'd like. Again, the SKM file doesn't have any information on how the drawings that you had in SKM, so we aren't able to lay the equipment out the same way that you may have had it in SKM, but the data comes in where you get the connectivity, and then you can start working on it in EasyPower. Anyway, I think those are all the questions that I can answer here in this forum today. And so, seeing no others, I guess we'll call that a wrap for our webinar today. I do want to encourage all of you to let us know your thoughts, and you can see through the presentation today that we have enhanced things like the Arc Flash scenario comparison report based off of feedback we got from you guys. Obviously, as well, we had many requests for equipment duty scenario comparison. These are decisions that we make based off of information we get from you. So feel free to send us feedback in EasyPower. If you haven't used it yet or haven't found it yet, there's this nice little feedback button up here, and feel free to hit that and send us your feedback. You can tell us whatever you like. Tell us who you are. We don't ask you specifically here to tell us that, but go ahead and let us know, so that way sometimes we have multiple in companies that where there's multiple users using the same serial number. We don't know who it is that's actually sending us the feedback. So go ahead and do that. You can tell us if it's an enhancement request or if you think there's a bug or if it's just other feedback. Don't use this channel for technical support requests, because we monitor it periodically and not on a daily basis. So we'll get back to you as time permits. All right. And thank you very much for attending today, and I look forward to hearing from you all.